Marion, you got seniority over us.
All right. At 6:01, we will call this regular meeting to order. Roll call.
Mayor Hartless, absent. Vice Mayor Waddell, absent. Councilmember Shantz,
Here.
Councilmember Daniels,
Present.
Councilmember De Leon,
Here.
Councilmember Grenwald,
Here.
Councilmember Jenk.
Present.
May we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation given by Pastor Louis March of the River Church.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pray. Heavenly Father, we ask you to bless this meeting and bless our leaders. We pray you will give them wisdom and understanding and insight into all the decisions that they have to make. And we ask you to bless our efforts here so that Parker will be a better place, a stronger place to live because of what is decided tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Okay. We will move on to call to the public. If you wish to address the council during the meeting, please read and fill out the information on call to the public forum and hand it to the town clerk. Please limit your comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. All right, let's start with Deuce Minor.
Good evening, council. Thank you for the opportunity. And before I start, most importantly, I thank you for putting the agenda back on the item to discuss the recreational marijuana ordinance. I was surprised and disappointed when I learned the new recreational marijuana ordinance was adopted. I have had an opportunity to talk to some of you since it was adopted. I remain very concerned about the potential, if not likely, negative effects on our community. This ordinance creates a slippery slope. Again, I appreciate that you put it back on the agenda. I understand there is still time to undo the new ordinance, and I plead with you that you take advantage of that opportunity before it is too late. I can't help but noting PACE is celebrating 30 years this year. What started as a small community organization has become a recognized leader in substance abuse prevention in Arizona. PACE programming and the information that they share with our community is science-based and evidence-based. They are the experts in this field in our community. Since it began 30 years ago, PACE not only invests in youth, PACE recognizes the value of input from youth. Youth are recognized as leaders in our community. I encourage the council this evening to listen to our community's youngest leaders and our local experts. Thank you.
Thank you. Courtney Comm.
Sorry, let me just set a timer because I don't want to be that guy. Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Courtney Comm. I'm the Executive Director of PACE. I live at 616 South Navajo. First and foremost, I wanted to thank Council for putting the marijuana ordinance back on the agenda for discussion, and happy Substance Abuse Prevention Month. As you may be aware, my petition for a referendum to get the ordinance on the ballot was unsuccessful. But please let me be clear. It was not due to there being no support for the mission that was attempting to accomplish, but rather a small, unknowingly detrimental mistake of not putting a referendum number on the back bottom corner of a signature page, which was a very hard and frustrating discovery. Through the referendum process, I was able to successfully acquire 90+ signatures in just 2 days by community members who wanted to have a say in what businesses we bring into our town and their potential influence. And frankly, it could have been a whole lot more if I had a little more time. Due to the passing of the ordinance over the last few months, I've had countless conversations with community members and council members alike about concerns and safety issues of what we could do as a call to action. The petition was our first avenue of attack. Many of these conversations I had were with individuals who are very pro-marijuana, because I think it's important to understand both sides of a topic. Overall, the consensus was clear, however. Our community, a very large majority of our community, feels like a business like this should not be in our town. A large majority of our community members do not want a dispensary, or at the very least, would like to have an opportunity to vote on the matter. Most of these individuals feel like a business like this would only negatively add to the tourist/party-ish council, the vibes that we're getting here in Parker, right? We're creating a very party-like atmosphere and culture, and a lot of our locals just don't want it. The individuals who utilize THC already know where they can get it, and it's easy for them to access, as simple as even purchasing marijuana and gummies online. Even our older population who may be having some issues with their health can have CBD oils and hemp-based products that they can buy on Amazon to help with things like constipation and or pain. I know that today's is just up for discussion and no action will be taking place, but I'd like to urge council members to please read back through the ordinance that you passed. Read through the changes that you made from something that was given to you with lots of thoughts through other agencies in our town. Please look at that with the eye of maybe a business who would like to exploit some of those avenues that we've talked about. And even just one dispensary could have a negative impact on our community. But some of the verbiage that we included in the passage of this ordinance could create an unchecked amount, especially if the law was to change on the state level for how many could be within each community. I don't have time to read that part, but simply, I'd like to ask community and our council to please listen to the community. We've had youth speak. I've given you numerous observations of how it could have a negative impact on our community. And I would really love to hear in an open live session what some of your opinions are instead of just those conversations happening in executive session, because I think that our community should be aware of that. So please put them first and listen to what we'd have to say, or at least pretend like we do. Thanks, guys.
All right. Sorry it's late. Our next call to the public is Jim Beaver.
Well, thank you, Council. I'm Jim Beaver, resident here in the town of Parker, and I want to speak on the marijuana ordinance. So go back quite a while, don't have the dates, but I was actually on planning and zoning when we actually passed the original passage of ordinances and that. And there was a lot of thought, theory. It wasn't something done in one meeting. We went. It was probably over the course of 6 weeks, 2 months that we looked through everything, and what we passed at planning and zoning went to town council, and it was immediately passed at town council after the discussion because there was so much thought and theory. And I guess I was a little disheartened to see kind of all the work we put in kind of immediately passed off. But bigger than that, I think. And I'll side with this where I'm actually kind of neutral on this topic, but I think on something like this is a generational decision. This is the decision that's going to affect, decades down the road here in the town of Parker. And I don't care if I'm sitting on council, if any of you are sitting on council, who's sitting on council. I don't think that 7 people should make this decision. I think it should be the greater area of Parker and the people in the town of Parker. I don't think that 7 people should actually carry this weight. I think it's a bigger decision than that. So I just ask you, on decisions like this that are generational decisions. I mean, we're not talking about putting a new air conditioner on a building that the town of Parker owns. We're talking about something that could change the landscape of Parker forever. This needs to go to a vote of the people and not just 7 people. No offense to any of you, but I would say that regardless of who's sitting up there. So thank you.
Okay. That was all the call to the public. Yeah.
Record, Mayor Hartless arrived at 6:06 PM.
Okay, our next item is Chamber Director's Report. Erica Daniels.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. On behalf of the Parker Regional Chamber of Commerce and Tourism, I'd like to share a few upcoming events and invitations. This Saturday, the Chamber encourages everyone to come out and support the 554 Foundation, a great walk and opportunity for the community to connect and share support. It is $30. Children 12 and under are free. It starts at La Paz County Park, and it's about 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Next Thursday, October 16th, is not only National Wear Purple Day for Domestic Violence Awareness, but it is also our monthly Chamber Mixer, and that will be hosted by the Colorado River Regional Crisis Services at their admin office off of Joshua. We're excited to announce some brand new events. Our first one is Wednesday, October 22nd. We'll be hosting a business after hours social at the bar. It's a Wednesday, and the theme is On Wednesdays, We Wear Pink in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. The Chamber is looking forward to continuing to create events, trainings, and to strengthen our local business community and build meaningful connections across Parker. Thank you for your ongoing support.
Thank you. Okay, our next item is the consent agenda. There are 6 items on there that we can approve together unless somebody wants to pull something out and talk about it separately. Anybody? No? All right, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve items A through F. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 1, discussion and action to approve, deny using Airwave Communications to retrofit the 2020 F-150 admin vehicle to a patrol vehicle. Mike Bailey, is he here?
Mr. Bailey is not here tonight. However, Lieutenant Ferris is here if you guys would have, if you have any questions regarding this. The physical impact of this is coming from the insurance where we had received a portion from one of our vehicles that was flooded. So we were able to, you guys voted last week to go ahead and purchase the car from Kansas, and we are able to retrofit one of our admin trucks to be able to use for patrol and hauling people around in. If you have any questions, Lieutenant is here. Actually, we had a little bit left over after doing both.
Okay.
So no
But I
effect on
timed.
the budget, basically. Anybody?
I just want to see what the cost was.
Entertain a motion?
I move that we approve using Airwave Communication to retrofit the 2020 F-150 vehicle utilizing the State of Arizona contract number CON 159257-0.
I second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I may not have answered your question exactly the way you wanted it. The project was $11,712.59.
Item 2, discussion and action to approve, deny Rio Air Conditioning and Mechanical to install 2 Samsung mini splits for the Cattery Building. 8840. Steve here? Steve,
Here.
anything?
So with this, we had an air conditioner go down at the animal shelter in the cattery where we keep all of our little kitties. It's not, there's mold buildup in there, it's up in the ceiling, there's a lot of issues going on. And it's way past time, it's not getting that cool, so we've gone out for bid. Steve did collect 3 bids, and as you can see, the Rio Air came in under the least amount. If you have any questions, though, Steve will be more than happy to answer them.
And the funding for this item,
It's out of our building fund?
building fund budgeted already?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Questions, discussion, objection? Okay, entertain a motion.
I motion to approve item 2.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the mini split. It's for the Cattery Building for 8840. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, discussion and action to approve, deny, to accept Dusty Waddell's resignation from Town Council. Nora?
Yes, I thought that it was included in your packet.
It is. It is,
It
the
is,
letter,
okay,
yeah.
good. self-explanatory. He is not willing to sit on council as of last 2 weeks ago.
24th.
Wednesday, 20, or
September
September 24th.
Okay.
I'll motion to approve his resignation.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to accept or approve Dusty Waddell's resignation from town council. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, discussion and action to approve, deny directing the town manager to solicit letters of interest for the replacement of the vacant council seat. Nora?
So yes, so you will need to kind of give me some direction in how you would like to proceed forward. Typically, we advertise that the seat is open. How long we do, that's kind of up to you guys, how long we leave that section open. Once we get those letters of interest back in, I will present them to you. You guys can go through them, talk about it, and then you will appoint somebody for Dusty's seat. Once that is completed, and we have somebody sitting in the seat, then we'll have to go back out and choose a new vice mayor at that time. Yes.
What are some of the customary timelines that you've used in the past? If this has actually happened in the past?
2 weeks, we usually
Yeah,
open
it's
the letters.
2 or 3 weeks.
A couple of 3 weeks usually in there. I think the last one we did was Erica, when Frank stepped down. And we'll advertise on social media,
I was just going to
In the
ask, through
paper.
social media, the Parker Pioneer.
in the Pioneer, yep. Because they do have to live in the town of Parker, obviously, and I know. You're crazy. So that's our best kind of,
So in this one, it would follow pretty much the same plan that
Correct.
was done in the past? Okay.
that's exactly how we'll go.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is a 3-week timeline-ish with that. So if we get the letters within a 3-week timeline, that allows us to maybe vote on it 4 weeks from
November.
now.
An interview.
Maybe our last meeting in November.
Or first,
I would say your first meeting in November,
First.
you could go over at least
The letters.
the applicants at that point, and then
Sid them the next one.
the second meeting
They would
in
be
November,
sworn
you
in
could,
and stuff.
yes. You could select them. And if you wanted them there, if you wanted them to come in, so you could interview them,
Yeah, we've done
we could do that as
before.
well. That's been a thing in the past.
Mhm.
And we can set that up like on the 1st, or we can do a special meeting for that as well. We don't have to do it on our regular Tuesday night meeting. It just needs to be sometime after the 21st. However you
Works for
want
me.
to direct us to do that. So
So,
3 weeks?
I would
yeah, I'll
say
make a
that
motion that it be.
it's not an action item, is
Oh,
it?
it isn't?
Yes,
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Oh, I'm
yes, it
sorry.
is.
Go ahead, Ray. Yeah. I thought we were just
No,
discussing.
go ahead. Now I feel bad.
No,
I'm
you're,
kidding.
you're fine.
No, I go ahead. I'm going to make a motion that we direct the town manager to solicit letters of interest for replacement vacant council seat to be advertised. Should I say in the same manner as last time, or?
No,
'Cause there's like
no,
two or
don't
three,
box
just
us
like
in.
2 or 3 weeks, or just direct you? Okay, good. That's my motion.
I'll
Second.
Double second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item 5, discussion and action to approve deny agreement with La Paz County for the home delivered meal program. Nora?
So with this, it's basically the same contract that we did with Quartzsite 2 weeks ago, with a couple of, I think, major differences. One is the amount that they're going to be paying is much more, because they do have 51% of the clientele. So their per month reflects that at $8,367.92 per month for 12 months. So this will retroact back to July 1st. The only other thing is squaring up at the end of the year. They had some heartburn with that this year. They didn't budget to do that. They budgeted for just that 12 months. Looking at where we are today versus from July to now, it looks like we're gonna come really close, if not be under. So I'm actually okay with the true-up not being in this one, and then we will look at next year for a solid true-up.
So if we come in under the budget, we return the funds?
With this contract, no, we wouldn't.
But if we come in over budget, we request them to make up the difference?
Typically, that's what we're doing with Quartzsite. The county doesn't want to do that this year. I think this is just kind of a learning curve this year for all of us, to see how it kind of pans out. But again, because we're almost halfway through the year, a little over halfway through the year, I'm going back and doing all the reports and everything, we're really close. We're probably going to come in, probably squeak under what they're actually paying us if we continue in the same manner.
So the other question is, are they going to pay retroactively from July 1st?
Yes.
So I'm okay with the not true-up being in there, assuming either way with that. The one thing, though, is within consideration is if it is significantly different from that going forward, then at that point, then potentially ask them to have that different pricing going into next year,
Absolutely.
with also including some of the missing portion this year.
Yep, we can, that's definitely something that we can talk to them about.
Negotiate in that particular front to make sure that we're not coming severely under, or, providing subsidies at that particular point.
Correct.
So just a point of consideration going into next year's negotiation period. And the contract is only good for a single year, correct?
Correct.
So
This
that,
is our learning year.
yeah, just for those futures, I think the true-up would be the most beneficial thing having in there, but if we approve it, assuming not, my suggestion would be just to have that in the negotiations discussion going into next year.
Noted.
It's much appreciated, though,
It very much is.
that all three entities have got together on this thing all these years, so that's great. Okay. With that said, I would entertain a motion unless somebody had something else they want to add.
I will motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agreement with Paz County for the home delivered meal program. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6, discussion and action to approve, deny to hire Total Security Solutions for $91,930 to furnish and install a ballistic circulation desk system at the Parker Public Library. Nora.
So at our last meeting, you folks tasked us with a few things to do with this. So Phoenix was able to get a hold of the state library regarding how many grants that they had actually awarded for this type of project. And we are the first that they have to receive that grant. Another thing, Steve spoke with Total Security Systems regarding how many systems they had installed at libraries throughout their business. They couldn't give Steve a specific number on libraries, but they had done multiple transaction windows and countless ballistic hardening in city halls, public safety buildings, which included libraries or were a part of libraries. And then the question was, how long would this take should we move forward? Overall, it's about 16 to 20 weeks It only takes about a week to actually build the thing once it gets here, but getting it all built and because they're all custom built. So that's where your 16 to 20 weeks typically comes in. Those were some of the questions that you guys had. I can answer as many more questions as you have. I did provide you with a sample picture of sort of what my idea of what this would look like. It would be more of a reception desk versus the tall like we have now. It would be smaller, so we could move it back a little towards, because they are all custom built, back towards the wall there, which would give you a lot more room in the lobby area. And that ballistic glass doesn't necessarily have to go, because this was one of you guys' concerns, was the ballistic glass going all the way to the ceiling, and it doesn't really have to. And you'll notice in the slide that I gave you, it doesn't necessarily go up. But again, these are kind of custom desks that we can manipulate a little bit, depending on what your vision is for that. I know we don't want just a big metal box in there. The girls aren't behind that desk a lot, but it is, we do have some options.
Okay.
I just want to begin. A lot was said at our last meeting, so I went back and did some homework. Thank you for providing the grant and other things. While going through the things that were provided to us, I want to also acknowledge that I not only voted in favor of this, but I also seconded the motion.
The original.
With that being said, yes, on January 7th of 2025. In the memo, it stated things like, these upgrades will create a safer, more accessible, and welcoming library for all patrons and staff. I did not see that in the ballistic desk that we've seen for our examples. It also said, including and installing ballistic grade circulation desk to enhance staff safety and improve ADA accessibility by making the desk more visible and easier for patrons to interface with. I didn't think that, if you brought that to me again right now, I would absolutely second it again. I don't think how it read in that memo was then portrayed when we got the quotes and the different desks that were given to us later on. I think that our library should remain welcoming with the open space that reflects the learning and the connection, and of course, safety and ADA. Absolutely 100%. I remain supportive and reasonable with the safety measures. I like panic buttons or an improved layout. I am not in favor of ballistic desk at all. I'm asked that we pause and review this project even further to ensure that it truly matches both the original intent and the welcoming spirit of the library.
So one thing with looking at various options, what I would also like to see is other type of options. So if we were not to go with the ballistics portion, we talked about just having a regular desk and also a security door where that entrance into the back way would be. So that would be a want of maybe seeing a price comparison, what that would look like.
For clarification in the grant, if we don't provide the ballistic glass, does that make us non-compliant in the grant?
That's a good question. I know that the grant, I believe, states in there that there is ballistic material. I don't think it says glass, but I do believe it says ballistic material. So you can,
Well, I don't want to have to give money back with if we go with, quote, the wrong option.
we don't want to give money back either.
So that's what I would like in the clarification is does that jeopardize the $50,000 that we've been awarded?
I will say too, in part of the grant on number 4, the estimated cost, and it says in there too, with that description, library desk security enhancements. That part doesn't say ballistic, but there was another part that did say ballistics. And then there also was some attachments that were not very easy to get through at all. They do say the ADA thing a lot, which I completely agree with.
Yes, yes. It's really the
I
glass.
did, yeah.
That's the,
Also, the award notification that we got, I didn't see anything in there that said the ballistics and the measurements of what the ballistics actually needed to be. Again, people read things differently and could portray something completely different than what I did from reading the actual letter and the agreement.
I guess one of the questions is, we got a $50,000 grant. We were gonna put in 46,000. If they redesign it and the price comes in at 49,000, and we can still get that grant, but was it a sort of a match thing, or it was like, we're gonna give you this much, the rest is on
No,
you?
it's a match. So,
up to 50,000, correct?
correct.
Yes.
So it's a match.
So if we redesigned it and it came in at 50,000, it would be 25 from them and 25 from us.
And we would have to return the other 25.
I mean, it'd still be cheaper, but. I don't know. I'm torn. Honestly, we did, I mean, you might be right, Eric, I don't remember the specifics, but when this was first presented, we approved the application of the grant. We approved the accepting of the grant. And the third phase was to approve the project, and so we've got 2 out of 3. My only concern, I guess, that, I'm okay with re-looking at stuff, but the timeline is, this has to be done by July, basically, or we'd lose the whole thing.
Correct.
The entire project has to be completed by July 31st, right? Is that what I read?
June 30th.
June, and then the
And then
report is July
report.
31st. Yeah.
So
Have the
if we
fiscal
were gonna
year.
keep talking about this, I wouldn't want it to go past November, just in case. Because these guys too, if the same company's gonna do it, I'm sure they have a schedule and a timeline, and they put us on that schedule.
What's some of the pushback that you're hearing, or maybe to the chair or to the town manager on the project? Is it just that it's a ballistics and it sounds like it's fortified, or the money, or is it the appearance of?
I haven't really had any pushback. I haven't been out in the community with this item either. I know Ms. Erica's had quite a few conversations with different people within the community, and I'm not sure who else is,
Would you be willing to share some of that?
I will say, too, just for a record, I initiated some of the conversations, and other conversations, people just called me and wanted to speak about it because they heard what I had said at the last town council meeting. And a lot of the pushback is, why is this such a huge ballistic desk? They were thinking more of, like one person said, I thought that you were gonna have a whole nother door. I don't want to quote them word for word, but where there's kind of a hallway in the library, that we thought you were gonna just have like a whole nother ballistic door right there, and then you'd be able to come in. And then them actually realizing that it was a desk in the examples from the floor to the ceiling, like, yeah, that's not interpersonal at all. And then a lot of the things that were said after the last meeting, because as we said, Phoenix and the girls do an amazing job over there, and I don't want to take that from them at all. I think the library is just nourishing, it's amazing. A lot of them aren't even behind the desk, which Phoenix said herself. So the things that are happening, the things that were brought up, it was also told to me that we got the incident reports the last time we were here. I think it was like 3 pages of incidents that had occurred. But Chief Bailey hadn't had anything since 2018. So it was like, if they were so concerned about their safety and these things were so alarming, why was our police department not notified about these things? And why are they coming up now in 2025 if the Parker Police Department hasn't got a phone call about these things since 2018?
Yeah, and I would say, from my standpoint, it's also the uninvitedness portion of that, as we previously described. There's other ways of working with the security measures, of trying to focus on the security. We would be the first basically what Arizona Library Association, first place in Arizona that is having something like this. They haven't had anything like this as described by the other companies, never did this project for another one. So we are leading, trailblazing the ways without working through the other security measures for that particular front. In my perception, it does seem to be more uninviting, and there does seem to be ability to work other security measures to be able to have a more welcoming environment, but also provide the security measures that's potentially needed for the staff located over there.
While being ADA compliant.
Yes.
I
so
was to
it-
say, but regardless
Importantly.
of the glass, the desk has to be redone.
Yes.
It's too high and it's really old.
And that's to the other point of what I was asking earlier, is that I believe that the desk and the security door still can be done with the same budgeted amount that we have, provide that slimmer portion with that. So that's where the request for the particular desk and door comes from, to make sure that it's still within that same price range that we have budgeted for this particular amount.
And again, I couldn't read everything that was uploaded because there was a lot of attachments, but when I read that part that said like security enhancements, that didn't necessarily say to me, or scream to me rather, it's a ballistic desk that goes from the ceiling to the floor. Security enhancements, my brain started thinking a camera, surveillance outside, inside, different security measures, panic buttons, things of that sort.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I take a look at the photographs that are attached in the packet, I just kind of see an upgraded, if it didn't have the word or the terminology ballistic attached to it, I would think it just looked like any other desk. You know, it does have the glass up front for those of you that don't have a photograph or something to reference, but it does have glass that goes up, but not all the way to the ceiling, maybe 3/4 or 1/4 of the way up to the ceiling, but I didn't know that there was a real need or definite need for something like this.
Where my, history, so we have this type of assessment over at the hospital on a frequent basis at our various point of contact areas. So, for instance, we do have a barrier we call fishbowl at our front registration desk over at the hospital. So we do have areas in the hospital that we do feel that it is appropriate and needed over at the hospital, but other areas that we had those different barriers put in between, we felt the personability between the patient didn't necessarily help the risk, to mitigate the risk that potentially could come from that. So we did a very specific look at each area to see what's needed to try to implement certain measures such as this. So the one, and just going to the one area that we did decide, the person would be singularly there at night by themselves, which is why they have a locked particular area. So that's the one area that we have decided to do this, compared to other areas such as the clinic, not so much.
Is there ever a time when there is only one person at the library?
Occasionally. We try not to have just one person working, but there are times that, unfortunately, that we just have one over there.
Again, my main concern is I don't want to have to send any money back. So if we alter this too much, is that going to meet the criteria? And then my other question is, depending on how this council feels, are we willing to say, let's send the money back and spend our own money out of the general fund to build a ADA desk? I mean, it seems like those are going to
But
boil
we're
down to the
committed
two
to
options.
Spending 49,000 anyway.
So I'm just saying, is there another option, or?
And I would love to see another option, but my thought overall is that you should be able to have a new desk and new everything with that, still at the same amount. So we're not spending above what we already had at a budgeted amount. So even though that we may be sending extra back or sending that amount back, we're still within our own general funds for what we budgeted for this particular project, going a different route to still work on the security measures, but still a welcoming environment.
But what I'm saying is if the state says, hey, you got to put in that ballistic glass, we have two options. We either go with what the state is going to pay us for, or we take it out of our general fund, which we were already going to spend anyway. So I guess if there's a third option, as we're talking about all of the options, I'd like to know what that
At
is.
the end of the day, the argument here is the glass. Whether it's ballistic or just glass, it doesn't really matter. It's glass. That's what the opposition is, the glass, right? If you had this thing without the glass, you would be like, oh, that's cool. I'm assuming. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, I would say, safe to say, there's another part of the grant where it talks about this will be completed by a specialist vendor that does regular security, accessibility, and ballistic upgrades for public buildings. When I read that too, I still, and this is the grant that was approved, I still in my head didn't think that it had to be a complete ballistic circular desk, that there was nothing to like, from the top to the bottom, if that makes sense. And then again, I'll say, it also said in another part of the grant, the library does security enhancements. So security enhancements, that doesn't necessarily mean that $50,000 has to be spent on ballistic glass.
I don't know, when I look at this, I see that if we were to do it in the terminology of ballistic glass, security enhancements were all stripped away, it looks like any other type of office reception area. It's got the glass, others do that. I know it's a little unsightly, the very front portion of that where they have the air gap or for the communication part. But then the safety aspect of it and the library being isolated in a sense, its own little island, if anything was to happen, you know, they have a nice little safe room, I guess, or a little safe area for, until our
Have to go all the way to the top. If that's, you know, I mean, again, we can kind of try to make this our own because they do specialized, this particular company does.
No, I think you have ballistic doors too. You know, so that back area, I can see it in my mind, there's a door right behind this, there's a door on the side, there's a door in the back. If all of those were ballistic and everybody could, you know, retreat into there and close it,
And we still had the circular ADA compliant desk that we
or
redid.
or square, circular square,
Yeah.
whatever.
But again, is that something that the library will sign off on and allow us to spend their money?
The Arizona Library,
Yeah, the grant.
It didn't, did you get to see the paper where we got the acceptance? It didn't seem to have,
Well,
but like I said, everybody reads things differently.
we would need to go to that. I think that's probably a funding change, and we may need clarification.
yeah, I can imagine being awarded a grant like this and then just going, we're gonna do something different. They're gonna wanna know what we're doing if we're not doing what we said we were doing.
Of course, yeah, definitely. If we make any amendment to any type of grant we receive, we definitely need to notify them.
So did Phoenix in here?
No, she's was unable
Did
to be.
Phoenix write the grant or John Luther?
John did.
So it might be, if we're gonna go in the direction that I'm hearing, is maybe John needs to reach out and say, we might wanna make some modifications.
Yeah, John and I can have a conversation and then he can follow up. Or I can follow up. It doesn't necessarily have
Somebody's
to
gotta
be
come up
John's.
with a plan, and not just say, we don't like the glass. Let's-
Right. That was my next thing. We need to kind of come up with some, you've got to give us some direction. Because, I mean, we've given you guys the direction that we think that you should go, AKA the last photo that I sent. So some direction from you.
Yeah. My suggestion would be a ADA compliant desk, some sort of ballistic door or some sort of door on the back, potentially with a glass window to be able to have a two-way view of that, and then also a panic button.
Which doors, which doors are we looking at to
Just a singular
do-
one that goes in the hallway.
The one that goes behind the circulation desk into the offices,
Yeah,
I
I don't
think.
even, is there a door
There's
there
two or
right
three
now? If it is,
doors.
it's always
No,
open.
there's not.
There's one door that's right next to Phoenix's desk in the back.
That's one way further back, right?
Way further
Because there's,
back.
when you go to
But
the
not-
hallway, there's not one right there.
Correct.
No,
Right.
but installing a door in that
That
particular
right there,
spot.
yep.
What spot are you referring to?
Like, you know, when you turn around from their desk, if you were gonna walk to Phoenix's office, it's a kind of like a hallway. I don't know if you'd
Right.
call it a hallway.
Yeah, it's like a hallway.
Yeah, but like something right there is what I'm guessing, Z.
Correct.
Don't let me put words in your
No,
mouth. at all.
that's exactly what I imagined.
Yeah.
There, and then is there a door from the children's area into that office or no?
There is, but I mean, as long as that's closed, that should be fine, just where that's at. But more great, having that door right there at that particular point.
Not just closed, ballistic.
I mean, if it says ballistic,
I mean, if you're gonna make a
for
safe
ballistic.
room or a safe space.
Is there any way that we could have a work session to discuss like other options instead of just, hey, this is, okay.
I think probably contacting the
Maybe we can get
LSTA
John Luther
grant
on the horn
writer
when we're doing
or
it.
grant acceptor.
But maybe in the meantime, we can reach out to John and ask him if,
How the grant was
What are
written,
the
what specific
modification-
requirements.
or even just contact the library association that necessarily gave us the grant to see, hey, what is allowed within this? Talk to me about where it was proposed, what type of scope are you looking for?
Especially because we're their first one, so.
No, and I don't have an issue contacting Chris from the state library to see, you know, kind of what their expectations are. I mean, I know when we provided the grant, what we provided to them. So if we're gonna change and just do doors and a desk and what, to see if that fits in with
Yeah.
what they, are looking for, but yes, we can do a work session. Just trying to think.
I mean, if they would allow us to make some modifications, I think that's a different conversation then. But if they won't, then we have a decision to make.
Again, with keeping, I want to reiterate 10,000 times, our staff completely safe and it ADA compliant.
and I just want to reiterate, it's the glass. That's what's bothering everybody is the glass in between the public and the employees. But if the number one concern is their safety, they should have the glass, in my opinion.
I'm
I
not
disagree.
necessarily, yeah, I'm not necessarily sure the glass provides that safety if they're spending 90% of the time outside of there.
Outside of class.
I personally feel that it's just as easy walking back to that safe space with a ballistic door as it is walking behind that glass if they're outside of that area. So therefore, the barrier is not providing that any additional benefit compared to the other alternative methods, but providing that much more of a hindrance for that community relation when they are behind it.
Could we have the work session at the library?
Could we?
We
Absolutely.
can
we
be
could.
there and look at it and kind of,
Absolutely.
I think that might be the best bet. What time did the library close? 6 or 7?
7.
And maybe I can even, because I think we have some of our old glass portions or plastic portions that I can potentially bring over so we can see how that communication is talking through a plastic.
Well, and these do have communication portals, I'll call them, I think is what they are.
Yeah, it's the same kind of glass that we have up at the front desk.
Well, with that said,
Table it or?
Make a motion to table it with the agreement that we're going to have a work session at the library to discuss things further.
I'll second that motion.
it's moved and seconded, anything else? So move to table this item and have a work session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. All right, item 7, no. Yeah, item 7, discussion regarding constitutionality of a local preference policy. Council may vote to discuss. Can we flip these two items possibly, Christina? Item
Yeah,
8,
Mayor, actually, if you want to go into E-session, you can just motion for both items in E-session. But if you want to just have a public discussion first on the item 8,
that's what I want to
you
do.
can do that, and then we can go into E-session for
Okay.
the other two, or, yeah.
All right, so I'm going to flip those and say, item 8, discussion regarding ordinance 01/2025, Town of Parker recreational marijuana 2025 updates. And again, we can discuss this, and then we can discuss it again for legal advice and whatnot.
Correct.
Correct, yes, yes.
So I think there was talk about putting this back on the agenda at one point, but there was a referendum process happening, so we didn't really want to, at least I didn't want to get in the middle of that. Kind of let's see how that panned out. It didn't pan out, so I think now we can talk about it again. And my intent was to have a discussion about modifying it, possibly, like Jim had said, back to the original plan that was presented by Planning and Zoning, or that was approved by Planning and Zoning, or just revoking the ordinance altogether, depending on the pleasure of the council. So I would like to have a discussion about how everybody feels about it. If everybody's
For
comfortable.
clarification, because it was passed, it was set in motion, it was everything, do we have to have another public hearing to change the code?
Yes.
So this is strictly discussion and not necessarily looking at changing anything
Wait,
because,
what did we say? We would have to have another planning and zoning?
Depending on what you want to change, yes, this would need to go back to planning and zoning. We would have to have another public hearing.
Well, really? Is that right,
That's
Christina?
over.
Because they presented
so
a
I
different
mean-
plan and we modify it. You're saying we can't modify it again?
Well, so you can modify it again, but the way that the code is set up is now this is the current law, right?
Right.
Under the code. And so now if you're going to make any subsequent changes, it's just like any other code change that involves zoning, you would have to go back and go through that same process through P and Z. They'd make a recommendation, have public hearings, and yes, it would come back to you. And that is partly why we only wanted discussion tonight, because I think the other part of it is needing direction, right? Of where it is, where you guys want to go with this. Because we'd have to craft anything before we could even obviously start that process.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. I just thought we could.
yeah, and that's where I think part of my initial discussion of wanting to have that discussion earlier within a certain amount of period to be able to have that discussion or have that change during that. But just from my understanding right now is a little bit too late because it is basically into our code at this particular point.
So that would apply, Christina, to modification as well as revocation. Is that fair to say?
Correct, yes, because it would be a code change. It would be a zoning code change, yes.
Well, that's not what I was expecting. So,
Yeah, I think I personally have questions, but it's more legal advice portions with that. So I think that might happen later. I mean, I like the idea of potentially having it to the public and having the public vote. I liked when those discussions were coming about because I do think that that is a larger portion or larger change overall to that where I may feel one way, but I would want that discussion. So that is just looking at our various options. So that's the basis of where I would have that legal type of questions.
yeah, I just thought of another one now that you say that, so. Okay,
Well, and just to be clear, Mayor and Council, so, because I know that there has been that question about the vote. So you could not have referred this to the ballot yourselves, just so that you understand that there's no statutory authority for you to have done that. The only way that this would have gotten to the voters was through that referendum process.
So could we say change our code, bylaws, or anything to allow something to go to the public?
No, it's all based on statute, so we can't supersede the statute. And so the way that it's structured in state law is the legislature has to give the town specific authority on certain matters to refer to the ballot. And it has, there's a number of different items that you could refer, like different types of tax measures. But if it's not expressly stated in statute, you don't have that authority. And that has been litigated in the past, so you just don't have that option.
Well, just so everybody knows that's the case then. Right. All right. Well,
I think there's probably some legal questions that we might want to go into executive session to discuss.
yeah, I know I have one for sure.
So,
If we go into executive session, can we go for both? What is it?
Yes,
Item
I would suggest making the motion for both items 7 and 8.
Anybody, other comments before we go? Okay. With that, I'll make the motion, go to executive session for legal advice.
Second.
For items
7
7
and 8.
and 8.
7 and 8.
7 and 8.
Okay,
Second.
it's been moved and seconded to go into executive session. All those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
All right.
Christina, give me a